up, YouTube? You're supposed to go first. And basically...
Hold on. Get out. I got it. I got it, you little... What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, Frank Diddy. Now, we finally finished the wall. I just wanted to give y'all a full view of what we did. It took like a month to finish. We took some days off. It ain't perfect, but it's ours, and we love it. Kids helped on it. We had friends help on it. Just about everybody who was over helped, because that's all we did. So I'm gonna have a full breakdown video of everything we used, from the fireplace to the TV to the marble tile we used. Everything was pretty much easy to find. Make sure y'all show love, like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna be bringing y'all more DIYs. We got a whole lot of house to do, whole lot of house to finish. And it's exciting. Me and the wife, the fam, friends have been enjoying bringing creations like this to life. So I asked somebody what something like this would cost. They told me north of 15,000. It's 150 by like 120. It's a tall wall, just to give you guys some perspective. I'm gonna stand next to it. I'm 6'2", but as you can see, like, it's honestly a pretty, and I have a 6'8" wingspan. It's a pretty big project. It took us a while. I'm just happy we got it done. That's the YouTube up there. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. I need all the love. Bring it. Okay, we done. All right, cool. Okay, so the first thing we did was took down the tile and the mantle. With that being said, I didn't know how to do any of this. All I did was YouTube a bunch of different videos for everything I did in this video. Okay, so the next thing we do is we're actually going over the frame. The frame was a little complicated because of obviously dimensions, measurements. You always have to make sure to measure. If you do anything else, measure. I made it a little harder because sometimes I wouldn't remeasure, and I feel like that threw one side of things off and it made it a little more difficult. So if you're going to do something like this, especially something as big, I definitely recommend to measure like crazy. I can't stress that enough. We used 2x4s and 2x2s to build the frame all the way from the ground up to the ceiling. Once we got the fireplace in, the rest came together pretty easy. Everything we did was out of 2x4s, 2x2s, drywall, and a couple, I think we used a little bit of plywood. Not a lot of plywood, but mostly everything we did was drywall and 2x2s and 2x4s. After we framed the fireplace, the middle, and both sides, we start to add the drywall. We went with 5/8 drywall just for the thickness. I do love the drywall we use. It's fire safe and sturdy. So once we place basically all the drywall on top of the 2x4, 2x2 areas, we basically completely cover it up, so to speak. Only thing you're leaving open is your TV area, your soundbar area, and obviously your fireplace area. Once you're completely covered with drywall, you're gonna add this black paper. I forget what it's called. Like I said, it's not my job. I'm not good at this. I was at Lowe's. I'm like best friends with everybody up there. I bounce ideas off of everybody there, and they kind of just gave me the best options on how to do certain things. So kind of watch videos, get insight, put it all together, make it your own. It's kind of how I do it. So it's black paper, it's thick paper, it's pretty sturdy, and I want to say like hefty. So basically all I had to do was completely cover it in the black paper. Obviously cut out the holes for the TV, cut out the holes for each cubby. Adding the paper was pretty fun, to be honest. It was fun seeing it, because most people I think plasterboard it, so like it hides your lines. I didn't have to do that. I ended up using the black paper and it hid all my lines for me. So we used a staple gun with specific staples. These staples had ridges on the end, and it grabbed the paper onto the drywall like really neat. It was nice, nip tuck, and you could barely feel it. For cutting the paper, I used an X-Acto knife, razor blade, whatever you want to use. It's not hard to cut at all. That part was easy. The cubbies were a little different. For the cubbies, we did use drywall, and then I ended up caulking and plastering the corners to give it that seamless look. Placement of this black paper, you didn't want to bring it down too low You didn't want to bring it too high. You kind of wanted it to cover up enough so that, you know, when you added the next step and you didn't have, you know, an offset of material. I definitely went through a lot of staples, I can tell you that much. I watched a couple videos and nobody had theirs raised at all. So make sure when you are adding your paper that you have it as flat as possible so that it doesn't bubble or anything. Okay, so now we get to the next step, which is the lathe. The lathe is like this chicken wire. That's what it feels like to me, chicken wire. It is the most uncomfortable thing to deal with. I cannot stress enough to use gloves. Me and my wife's hands were literally destroyed for the next 2 weeks. But what you want to do is you just want to cut that. They come in pretty good size sheets. All I did was cut it to match whatever I was fitting. I think I grabbed about 6 sheets. To get the lathe to stay on there, I was actually recommended nails with a flat head. So basically, I think the guy at Lowe's said use a nail every 6 inches. Every 6 inches, you use a nail, and that's to obviously lay it so you don't have any issues with slippage or durability, anything like that. I would rather do too much than not enough. Because at the end of the day, you don't want it to fall. You don't want it to not feel sturdy or stable. So I added a bunch of nails. I even went back over spots that were still a little raised and added some more staples. That helped a lot. There's a specific wire cutter to cut the lathe, and it makes it really easy. Nothing's gonna be, you know, just like cutting through butter, but to be honest, like it made it a lot easier than the first couple nippers I was gonna use. They're pretty big, so once I cut them specific size to what I liked, it made it, you know, a lot easier for me to place them. Also, use your worst clothes for stuff like this. I don't have DIY clothes, so with that being said, I messed up a lot of good clothes, but you know, it was fun. So the next step I want to talk about is our secret door. Now, our secret door is not so secret. The door is just for cable management, basically. We don't need a door for anything else. We weren't trying to house anything like that. It's just for cable management. The door, we did the same thing. We did add some extra plywood to help with the thickness. We had to basically get it to the same level as the rest, even though it's not connected, if you kind of get what I mean. And we have that just so we can access cables, unplug, change things out if we need to. Basically a cable management door. I just didn't want to make a wall and then do like little holes behind the cubbies. I just felt like that was a lot. Wifey bodied that. I'll let actually her do that all on her own. So you'll see me in the video applying a Thinset to the wall and the back of the tile. I did that just for extra durability. I probably could have added more Thinset, but I just wanted to go with like enough so that it sticks, it's durable, and I don't have any issues. I was very, very meticulous about each tile placement. I would say start at the bottom row, get that bottom row across, and then work your way up from bottom to top. I did clean every tile as I went along, because they do say if you don't clean it after a while and your Thinset sits on the tile, you get this haze that you can't get off, and I didn't want that. So every piece of tile I laid was cleaned with a sponge, both sides. I used the rough side and the soft side and kind of just made sure it was perfect before I went on to the next step. We do add in a couple videos of me cutting tile. This is probably the hardest thing you're gonna have to do. We had a wet tile saw. It was cold outside. Our garage was a mess from moving in. With that being said, we did this in the kitchen. Craziest idea ever. I don't recommend that. I recommend doing this outside so you don't deal with any of the mess inside. It was days where we just did it, cleaned up, redid it again another day, cleaned up. It's a mess. You don't want to use a wet towel saw in the house. With that being said, again, this was hard because measuring sometime would be off. Just make sure you guys measure. I would always say measure and leave room. Don't cut short. Always cut, you know, to leave more room than less. We had that issue a lot, but we end up making things work. Like a lot of, I feel like DIYs is you just making it work. and I feel like we did that to the best of our abilities. Okay, so I feel like this is also important. When you're tiling and you have nothing for your tile to sit on, this was really important. We used our same 2x2s or 2x4s. If I needed to cut a certain size or certain length, I went into the garage, used my saw, cut it a certain length, and used the cubby or the cutout area to basically hold up the tile. So we used tile. The Thinset took really well. Once I did it on the back and the wall, got them together, they didn't move that much. So slapping the 2x4 or 2x2s under the tile and just basically hoistering them up made it super easy, and I could move on to the next. So you'll see like pillars of 2x4 holding up certain pieces of tile as we go along with this video. Also, keep this in mind as well. Your ceiling may not be straight all the way across. Mine wasn't. It made it a little annoying cutting pieces thinking the left side would be the same as the right side. It was not the same. Measure all the way across one by one and try to get the best measurements possible. We did use caulk to seal around the complete project to give it that seamless look like it is the wall, obviously. I didn't say this is very important with your Thinset. I went over a bunch of different videos and I had to learn this. You want to scrape your Thinset up in the straight line all the way. Do the same thing on the front of your wall and obviously the back of your tile. You want to push them together and get the grooves into each other. This allows flow of air to escape from the top and the bottom freely. That way you get like the best possible stick from tile to wall. That is very important. If you don't do that, I think I think it expands. Your air doesn't escape right, and I'm pretty sure with the videos I watched, like it was bad. It could fall off easily. Not saying it would. I'm just saying from what I watched, like one of the guys pulled off his tile off the wall like it was, a sticker. So you definitely want to make sure you apply your Thinset correctly. Please watch more than enough videos on that. On this one, Wifey and Drea are working on the door for the cable management. I don't know why I like to call it a secret door. It's not a secret at all. They're working on the door for the cable management. I already created the Thinset, laid the lathe. All they have to do is apply it now and put the tile in their areas that they want it. Okay, on the sound bar. The sound bar was a little tricky. The sound bar was tricky because of how we did it. We used such a thick drywall that the drywall wouldn't fit in the soundbar area and have our soundbar fit in there as well. So we did use plywood for that part. We used plywood. We used plywood because it's thin enough to enclose that soundbar in there and give it that nice seamless look. We also painted the plywood obviously white, just so it kind of goes with the theme. I do like how that came out a lot. There's some defects in that, but again, it's ours, and to be honest, it looks damn good. For the plywood area, we did use glue. We used a construction glue. From everybody I talked to, they said that's the best thing as far as getting something to stick as best as it can. I use construction glue on the plywood, and also we use some construction glue on that door down there to stick the plywood to the rest of the door. The next thing is weirdly important. I talked to a few people. He recommended I use fluter strips, but like an unprofessional person I am, when I built the wall, I didn't build out the space for a fluter strip. Added this around the TV and all the cubby areas. So this kind of sat on top of the towel. As you guys can see me laying it on the TV area. I like the way this is made because it's made at a angle so that if I place it, it hides what's behind it. This saved us because we didn't know what we were gonna do because we didn't have the room for a fluter strip. So that saved us a lot. We did have to measure, cut, saw. Once we got that perfect and caulked it and everything, it gave us the seamless look we were going for. We did have to cut these at a 45-degree angle. You'll see me grab this yellow box and a saw at an angle. Obviously, when we create a corner, they had to meet. So keep that in mind if you are gonna do some trim. I suggest fluter strips, cleaner, a lot easier. I'm just showing you what we use, just in case you like this look and you wanna go this way. But I think fluter strips are easier. You just have to compensate for the room that you'll need for an actual fluter strip. Our puck lights are from Amazon. They're battery operated. I got a remote I can turn them on with. Change them different colors. These are awesome. So, I mean, for the most part, we got the steps to how we took care of the whole thing. So just to run it back real quick, you got your 2x4, you got your 2x2. Once you get your frame and everything set, you're gonna move on to your drywall. Your drywall is obviously super important. We went with the 5/8 drywall that's fireproof and that's super thick for durability. After you get your drywall set, you have your black paper. Your black paper will cover up all of your drywall and obviously all the holes. You just cut out whichever holes for your cubbies or your TV, soundbar, fireplace area, obviously. Cut that out, staple gun those in. Then you move on to your lathe. Obviously you're gonna staple your lathe into the wall and use nails with the flat head so that it lays the lathe completely down along with everything else. After you get that lathe set, then you move on to the messier part, which is your thin set. You're gonna put your thin set on the wall. Obviously, remember, scrape up, so you have straight up and down lines. Do the same thing on the back of your towel. Once you do that, smack them together, get them together, and obviously wedge them back and forth to make sure they're set, and clean up. So, I mean, I make it sound simple, but to be honest, it was very hard. This was all very time consuming. Just make sure you're being, you're measuring out everything and you're being, knowledgeable about what you're doing. I feel like knowledge is power is an understatement. For us, like, the more we did, the more we researched, the more we felt comfortable, the easier it felt. So that's pretty much the walkthrough. Yeah, I'm always down to help anybody out. Have questions, huge shout out to Winnie on Instagram. I'll link his Instagram and his YouTube below. Like I said, he helped me a lot with either voice noting me, giving me information, telling me what's best. That was big ups. Huge shout out to the wife, kids, my best friend Speedo, Mariah, Drea, everybody that came over and helped, man. It was a process. I love it now. It came out dope. And yeah, big ups to everybody that helped. We did it.
Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Bye, bye.
See you.